Hello, welcome to .NET Training Academy. In this video, we are going to learn how to use Google Authentication in ASP.NET Core 2.1. So here, I just created a folder called OAuth, and I'm going to open up Terminal to create a new ASP.NET Core application. So to create an ASP.NET Core application, I'm going to use the command .NET new. If you type .NET new command, it will show all the scaffolding stuffs that which is required for you. So in my case, I'm going to use this command because I need a basic authentication to do this stuff. So here, I just created the application using .NET new MVC --auth and individual basic user registration and login stuff, which is scaffolded in our application. So let's move on further just by running our application, .NET run. Here is our application in our window, in our browser. And after running the application, the very first thing that I'm going to do is to update our database. So to do that, I'm going to use the command .NET Entity Framework, which is short form of EF, and database update. So here, it's just updated all the database in this SQLite file. We cannot see this thing over here. If you wanted to view the actual output of app.db, which is the SQLite file, you need to use the extension called SQLite. You should install this extension. After reloading this file, after installing the extension, the very first thing that you need to do is to press the command Shift P, and type for SQLite Open Database in Explorer. So it will prompt you to check the database name. So here it is, and here you can see the SQLite Explorer. And inside of this, let me expand this a little bit. So you can see the table names over here. ASP.NET roles, ASP.NET users. These are all the basic table names with columns in it. So if you wanted to check the data in that, and you can press this stuff over here. So here, in this case, there is no results found. So now you can run our application just going to the terminal. So in the terminal, just run the application. Open up the application. So I'm just going to register here. I'm going to type something like .NET Training Academy at gmail.com. I'm going to use the password for that. And I'm going to register this application. So if you go over here and check the table, and here the data is added. So you can see that .NET Training Academy email and password is hashed, and you can see the data using that extension, just like this. And let's get into our actual thing that we needed to do. So the actual thing that we needed to do is to add the Google authentication for our application. To do that, the very first and basic thing is you need a Google account. So let's go into the Google, and what I'm going to do, so here I'm going to add account. So the account name is going to be Rajtech615, and which is the basic .NET Training Academy account, and I'm going to use the password for this. Okay, the very first thing that you need to do for creating a Google authentication for our ASP.NET Core application, you should go to the console.developer.google.com. Here's that link. So after entering into the Google Cloud Platform, the very first thing that you need to do is to create a project. And here, in my case, I'm going to use the project name as OAuth Google and just create the project. And the next thing is you should enable APIs and services, and after that you should select the API that you would like to use. In my case, I'm going to use the Google Plus API. I'm going to enable that, and after that I'm going to use the credentials. Here, create your credential. Here I'm going to use the Google What API. Which API are you using? In our case, which is Google API. And what kind of API you'll be calling up? We are going to call through the web server and the user data. So yes, it is. And what credentials do I need? So here I'm going to create a web client, the name as web client 1, and the authorized redirect URI is going to be this URI plus /sign in -Google. So you should create a client ID, OAuth, Google, continue, and download these credentials. So it's just downloaded here. Open up in Finder. I'm going to drag this thing in Visual Studio Code. So here it is. Here we are having the client ID and project ID, as well as the authentication URI and also the client secret ID. So here we are having all our credentials as a JSON file. So, and the next step, we need to create a secret user data. Do that, .NET user secrets set space authentication colon Google client secret. And the first thing that I'm going to store my client ID. So here I'm going to copy my client ID, copy your client ID, copy your client ID and paste that over here. So this thing is successfully saved. And the next thing, I'm going to store the client secret for our application. And the spelling needs to be same, that we are going to use that in configure services. So here I'm going to copy the client secret. Here it is. Copy and paste. Click enter. Press enter. So here you just successfully created user secrets for our application, which is required to create a Google authentication. So the next thing is we need to get into the Google authentication. Like services dot add authentication plus add Google and create a Lambda expressions. Here you should add that client ID and client secret ID. Client ID, which is exactly the configuration that we stored in the user data, application user data, and that would be stored in an array form. So I'm going to do that using this command, Google client ID semicolon. Alt Shift. Okay. Here you also need to store the client secret. So after configuring this stuff, I would like to rerun our application. Control C to stop the server, and again I'm going to start my server. So here, if you click the login, you can see the Google login button over here, just as use another service to login, and click here to login. And I'm going to use any of my account, just Chain Universe, my own company account. And here it is just logged in, and you can see the stuff in your database explorer. And if you see here, you can have the couple of accounts. One is Chain Universe, and another one is .NET@gmail.com, and also rostech615@gmail.com. And here, chainuniverse@gmail.com is the account where, so you can see the email ID and normalized email ID, but the password will not be stored. That's the power of Omni authentication. Here, I am as a service provider. I cannot able to see your password or even your hashed password from me. Because so this is the power of Omni authentication, and this is how you can use the Google authentication in ASP.NET Core. So if you like the video, please like, share with your friends. And if you have any queries or doubts, please comment that below. And don't forget to subscribe if you didn't subscribe to this channel.